Hi, this is Jillian from Design Student Savvy, and today we're going to learn how to create a floor plan in SketchUp quickly and easily from a PDF. This is part 1 of 2. In step 1, we will go ahead and import the PDF and lay out the walls. In step 2, we will cut out the doors and the windows. Now, I have created a new plan for my tutorials. It's a little bit simpler than the one I was using earlier. It's pretty much just a rectangle of a small house floor plan, or you could even say it's an apartment. So we're going to be working from this plan going forward, and if you want to follow along, you can go to the link that's in the notes for this tutorial and go to my website, designstudentsavvy.com, and there is a link to download this PDF so you can follow along. I found when I'm teaching my classes at school that it's nice for students to just follow along the first time and do the same exact steps that I'm doing, and then they can apply those skills that they're learning to their own projects. So let's go ahead and get started. I am going to click on SketchUp, and you can see I don't already have a file open, and that's because you can see that this floor plan is drawn in inches, and I would bet that the template you're using in SketchUp is in feet and inches. So in order to switch over to inches, you just need to go to SketchUp Preferences, go to Template, scroll down, and select the template for Interior and Production Design Inches. Once you have that selected, you can just X that out and then go to File, New. And then that new file will be in that inches format. I think it will be a little bit easier to follow along with the tutorial if you're in the inches format, since all of the dimensions on the floor plan are in inches. So let's get started. I'm going to delete the figure, and then I am going to go to File, Import, and I am going to check out this format dropdown and just make sure PDF file is selected. By default, it's usually SketchUp files. So if it says SketchUp files, go ahead and change it to PDF. There is my floor plan. It's on my desktop. So I'm going to select that and click Import. Once I have it imported, you can see it is attached to my cursor. I'm going to click the origin and then just drag out, and when it's big enough for me to read, I'm going to click. And you can see the PDF is now an object in my SketchUp file. So once I've done that, what I want to do next is switch into parallel projection mode. Parallel projection mode is much like working in AutoCAD, if you've ever done that before. It's purely 2D. And the reason that I like to work in 2D when I'm drawing a floor plan is that it's really easy in SketchUp to start drawing a little bit off, either askew in the XY plane or even into the Z plane. And if your floor plan ends up at all askew, either 2-dimensionally or 3-dimensionally, it will make your life miserable when you try to create a 3D model from your 2D floor plan. So to play it safe, I always switch into parallel projection mode when drawing my initial floor plan. To do that, go to Camera, Standard Views, Top, and see right now you can see the blue axis going up and down in space, and we're just looking straight down at our floor plan. To flatten this out, go to Camera, Parallel Projection, and you can see the blue axis disappears, and now we're working purely in 2D. Our next step is to scale the floor plan. So when I brought it in, I didn't bring it into scale. It's not scaled at all right now. But if we want to be able to trace on top of this without necessarily having all of the dimensions handy, then we need it to be to scale. So I'm going to use this measurement from the bottom right corner to the top left corner as my scale. I am going to use this 384 inches to scale my drawing. If you have your PDF selected, which you can tell if it's highlighted in blue, go ahead and click off into the workspace so that it's not selected. You won't be able to do this next step if you have your PDF selected. Click on the tape measure, zoom into the first point that you want to use for your scale, and you're just trying to find as close as possible to that corner. It's always going to be a little off because of line thicknesses, so just get as close as you can. Click, zoom out, Scroll up to the second point, and again, just get as close as you can. You can see that we're snapped to the green axis because my line is green, which is perfect. Now, you're just going to go ahead and click, and see in the bottom on this bar, it says enter value to resize model. Over here in the bottom right, that's where you enter. You don't need to click on it or anything like that. Just type 384 and hit enter. And SketchUp will ask you if you want to resize the model. Click yes. Now you can zoom out and you can go ahead and use your tape measure tool to verify another dimension. So I'm going to just check this closet, and you can see it's really close to 24 inches. So perfect. We are perfectly scaled. Well, probably not perfectly, but good enough. Our next step is going to be to add the exterior walls. We're going to draw the exterior walls. And I'll just tell you, I tried to make this floor plan as simple as possible. All of the walls are 6 inches. So you can assume every wall thickness in this plan is 6 inches, and that will make everything a lot easier. The other thing we want to do before we get started drawing the walls is switch into X-ray mode. X-ray mode is going to allow us to see our floor plan underneath anything we draw. So to do that, go ahead and go to View, Face Style, X-ray. And you can see this just dimmed slightly. Okay, so then my next step is to lay out some guidelines. I always use guidelines or construction lines to start drawing my models and to lay in all the walls, because if you click on the axis with the tape measure and see if you pull out that guideline, it is perfectly aligned to the green axis. Okay, I know it's perfectly straight, and then if I follow that line, I'm going to be drawing a perfectly straight vertical line. So, well, I guess not vertical, but vertical in the orientation that we're in. So I'm going to get as close as possible to that corner and click to set my guideline. And then I'm going to repeat with the red axis and come up to that corner and click as close as possible and lay out the horizontal guideline. Now I have a corner that I can work from for the rest of the floor plan. In order to draw the exterior walls, I'm going to use a rectangle. This floor plan is really simple. It's just a rectangle, so I'm going to go ahead and take advantage of that. If your floor plan that you want to draw is more complicated, you can use the line tool. You'll lay out your guidelines the same way, and you can add more guidelines if you need to, which is what we're going to do in a previous step. But for right now, we're just going to use the rectangle tool. So I've clicked on that, and I'm going to click on the intersection of those two guidelines. You see the red X. I'm just going to drag up. And as I drag, I'm going to type in the dimensions of my rectangle. The horizontal dimension is 396 and the vertical is 384. So those are separated by a comma. So I type 396, 384 and hit enter. And you can see now I have a rectangle perfectly lined up over my exterior walls. Now, like I said, the walls are 6 inches thick. So I can go ahead and click my offset tool. Click on my face. You can see that my face is selected because all the blue dots appeared. So I'm going to click and start dragging in, and as I'm dragging, I'm going to type 6 and hit enter. And now I have two perfectly concentric rectangles that are 6 inches apart. I'm going to delete the interior face because we don't need it right now. We'll add that back later to be our floor. So I'm going to hit the space bar to activate my selection tool. That's a quick SketchUp shortcut. And click on that face and then just delete it. My next step is going to be to group the exterior walls. You definitely want to put your walls in groups so that they don't stick together. I always group my exterior walls so that when I put in my interior walls, if something happens and I need to change my interior walls, they're not stuck to the exterior walls, they're not affecting them in any way. It makes it much simpler. So I'm going to triple click on the face of my exterior walls and then right click and say make group. And now they are a group and nothing will stick to them. Okay, so I'm going to use more guidelines to get started drawing in my interior walls. And I'm going to start with this wall right here because it goes the whole length of the floor plan, and I've got a measurement for it right here, 228.5. So I'm going to activate the tape measure tool, click on the guideline at the bottom corner, drag up 228.5, type that, 228.5, and hit enter. And you'll see I have a guideline now lined up with the bottom edge of that wall. And so I'm just going to click that guideline and drag up and type 6 for 6 inches and hit enter, and there is my wall thickness. Now I can use the rectangle tool, so I'm going to hit R for rectangle, that's the shortcut for the rectangle tool, R, and I'm going to click the top left corner where that top guideline intersects with the edge of the exterior wall, drag over to the bottom right and click, and now I have a rectangle representing that long wall that traverses the floor plan. So let's keep going. So let's do this wall. So again, guideline, that wall is 126.5 inches from the left side. So click that left edge, drag over 126.5, click that one, 6 inches. R for rectangle, we'll go from the top left to the bottom right, and there is that wall. So you can see this is really simple. Let's go ahead and put in this closet. So I'm just going to activate my tape measure, pull up 84 inches, down 6 inches, over 24 inches, and over 6 inches. And now, since this closet is a perfect rectangle, I'm going to hit R for rectangle. I'm just going to draw from this corner to this corner, and that top corner to that bottom corner, spacebar to select, click on that interior face, and click delete. And there is my closet. We can do the same thing on the other side. Look, they lined up perfectly. I did that on purpose. So we'll just put in the depth, the 24 inches, come over 6 inches. R, we're going to do it the same exact way, clicking on the corners with the rectangle tool, spacebar, select, delete, and now we have our two closets. Now you can see we're starting to get a lot of guidelines here. I'm not going to delete them just yet, but I do want you to know that if you have too many guidelines and you want to delete them, you can go to Edit, Delete Guides, and that will clear all the guides at any point. The next one I'm going to do is this wall for the bathroom. So I'm going to come down 78 inches, and then 6 inches, and then this is 120 on the interior, 120, 6. I'm just going to go right across with all these dimensions that I have. And then R, I'll come across. Now you can see they're starting to form interior faces. You can just go ahead and delete those. You don't need them. In fact, you don't want them. And then this closet is the laundry room, so it's a little bit deeper, 36 inches. So I'll click on that right wall edge, come over 36, and then 6 inches. And now we have actually the walls lined up for that closet through our bedroom. So I'm going to just draw all the way across, delete these two walls, and then we need this one. Should have done that one all together before. And then this wall is for our other bathroom. It's 108 inches. So we'll just come up 108, 6, R for rectangle, click, click, spacebar, delete. And now I think the only ones we're missing are this closet and the fireplace. So we'll come up 24 inches. Look, those walls line up, perfect. 6. And I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the other closets here and just use rectangles, spacebar, delete. Now, over here, I want to go ahead and put in my fireplace, but you can see now I have all these guidelines all over the place. None of them line up with the fireplace. I'm going to go ahead and go Edit, Delete Guides, and that clears all the guides. So to get in my fireplace, I know that it is 36.5 inches from the bottom, and then 6 inches, and then 78 inches, and then 6 inches. I'm just following the measurements along the side and how they're lined up. I don't have this depth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to estimate it. And so I'm just going to go ahead and click on this wall edge and start dragging out. And you can see, as I'm dragging, I'm getting measurements. What I do if I don't have a dimension is I pick the nearest round dimension, because chances are the architect did not dimension something to be 21 and 15/16 inches. It's probably not likely. So I'm just going to assume that this is, if I hover kind of on the far edge of that line thickness, it's around 22 inches. I'm just going to go with 22 and hit enter, and then come back 6 inches. But that might be something that you want to check in a field dimension. And just going to use rectangles, and there we go. And I'm going to delete those guides. Now we have all of the walls laid out, but before we go any further, we need to go in and delete all the intersections, okay? So that would be all these little lines that are breaking up the walls. We're not going to delete any intersections at the exterior walls. We need those to keep our closed loop, because the exterior walls are in their own group, so they're not part of the interior walls. So we're going to go ahead and actually I can see there's a line right here. We're going to delete that one. And then you're just going to go ahead and delete all those intersections. And it might be easier if you use the eraser tool and just go around, zoom in, and start deleting those guys. But like I said, you don't want to delete anything that's intersecting with the exterior walls, because your loop will break and then you will lose your face. And to show you what that means, if I click this one, see the gray face went away. If the gray face goes away, then we won't be able to extrude the walls later and make them three-dimensional. So I'm just going to hit undo. That's why you don't want to erase the lines that intersect with the exterior walls. So I don't think I have very many of these left to go. Here, 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 and that's it. Now, once that's done, we want to turn our interior walls into a group. So you are going to click on the face that forms those interior walls, triple click, see they're all selected now except the fireplace, and then say make group. It might turn out that all of your walls aren't connected to each other, just like the fireplace wasn't, so we are going to turn that one into its own group, and then we're going to hold down our shift key so that both sets of interior walls are selected, and then make them into a group. So now all the interior walls are a group and the exterior walls are a group. Last thing we're going to do, a little bit of organizational detail. We're going to go to Window, Entity Info. And that's this little box right here. And with our exterior walls selected, so click on your exterior walls, you're going to give them the name exterior walls and hit enter. And then click on your interior walls and do the same thing, interior walls. Another thing we can do is put those on separate layers. That might come in handy later. So we're going to go to Window, Layers, and click the plus button. So you can see we're on layer 0. There's only one layer right now. Click the plus button and add a new layer and call it Walls Exterior, and hit and just click off of it, and then make another layer and make that one Walls Interior. Okay, so now I have two new layers, Walls Interior and Walls Exterior. So click on the exterior walls. You can see the entity info pops up. Under that layer drop down, select Walls Exterior. Then click on the interior walls, and under the layer drop down, click Walls Interior, and now they're on two different layers. What does this mean? It means you can control them using the layers. And so later on, when we go to add scenes, or we're going to do different views for our floor plans, you can turn off the exterior walls or turn off the interior walls, or just manipulate those and their visibility by layer. So that comes in really handy later on. So that's it for this tutorial. In the next one, we're going to start roughing in the openings for the doors and windows. And then we'll go into 3D. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this tutorial was useful for you. I would love it if you could subscribe to my YouTube channel, and also hop on over to designstudentsavvy.com and sign up for my newsletter. If you do, you'll receive a free ebook that gives my opinion on the top 3 software programs an interior designer can use. Those are Chief Architect, SketchUp, and Revit, and it just talks about the pluses and minuses of each of those and why you might want to choose one over the other. So thank you for listening. I hope this was helpful for you, and I will see you next time.